or anything. It was coming out of other projects that Transmission was running at the time. What we're going to look at here is the GDC demo, and what you're going to hear is actually, this has been compressed and recompressed and all sorts of crap over much time, so it's a little bit distorted. But you will hear Simon listening as most of the baddies or the friendly guys, I think. So, Martin, if you could play the next one for us. So this is the part of the opening cutscene and then part of the gameplay from the GDC ground control wall section. So we took high level and low level bombers approaching London. See you in the line right there. What's like that for a missile? Line in the unload. Red leader to ground control. Red leader to ground control. I have 4 bandits in sight. Drop the red leader. What is your situation overall? Red leader down. To engage contacts. So a few things to take notice of here. Basically, there's more detail in the cityscape, but this was all placed by hand by artists. HUDs are still not complete, although the game did have a focus on having minimal HUD, like all of the HUD messages that are popping up are really placeholders to this day. Performance is not too bad, it runs about 25 frames a second. It was PS3 only, the demo. So basically, we've been about 3 months worth of work to put this together, focusing almost exclusively on this demo. That'll do, thank you. Thanks, Martin. Okay, so following the GDC demo, after about 3 months of negotiations, Atari signed on to publish the project. This was in June of 2008. This is after 20-something months of development. Atari, at this point, allowed us to change the planned release date to Q1 2009. Which was, good because we needed some extra time. It was March at this point, and, there was lots of work still to do. But the engine was still not complete, as you can see. Streaming, build process, art pipeline, memory management, optimization weren't complete. And the worst thing was that the terrain tool was functional, but it wasn't actually practically usable until this point, until June 2008. So the artists had been struggling with the tool for a while, and we forced them to use it, and they kept quitting, right? So it was only at this point, in June 2008, that artists stopped quitting when they had to use the tool, which helped a lot, because we got a lot more done. But, it's not a great testimonial for that particular tool up until this point of development. So while we're talking about staff quitting, let's have a look at the turnover of the project. Over the course of the 3.5 years that it was running, we had a total of 115 people working on it, 116 plus a bunch of QA casuals who worked on it, plus some external contractors. Total, the peak staffing, as you can see here, was 75 people in December of 2008. The staff turnover was only 12% per year. It wasn't too bad, but a lot of our turnover was at the top of the project. We had almost 100% turnover per year for all the leads on the project. We had 2 producers lead, we had 3 associate producers lead, we had 2 lead artists lead, 2 lead programmers lead, 3 technical directors left, and then we had no technical director. So the kind of turnover that we saw at the top of the project meant that we didn't have the continuity and the stability of clear leadership for the entire team. And the only area that didn't have any turnover was the design department. We had 1 lead designer on the project all the way from start to finish. So, in August we delivered the alpha to Atari. Basically, I came onto the project at this point when the previous producer left. That's part of that turnover. So he was the 2nd producer. I came on as the 3rd producer around August 2008. In coming onto the project, we did another review. There's always reviews. Everyone looks at everything and stares at their nails and tries to work out how long it's going to take to finish the fucking thing. In this case, I estimated that it was 12 weeks or 3 months late. The game was still meant to be released in Q1 for Atari. We recognised that we had to get it out in that time for them. Atari were, this was when they were going through a lot of kind of upheaval, and their kind of release schedules were very important to them. So Q1 release for Atari was very important. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't reduce scope any further. They actually, it says here that we reduced scope, but they wouldn't let us cut features out of the game anymore. There was not a lot left to cut. But what we were able to do was to move some things to DLC. So basically, we moved a couple of missions to DLC. These two missions that we removed entirely actually got moved to be downloadable content, which would be released at the time that the game was, as close to its release to the marketplace as possible. We removed another terrain from the game. Basically, the game had something like 9 or so terrains in it. 2 of which were Dover Cliffs and Dover Docks. And we took the mission that was going to be on Dover Cliffs and we moved it on to Dover Docks, and we deleted the Dover Cliffs terrain. We also removed the 3D front end and replaced it with a 2D version because it was going to be simpler to implement, and we couldn't rely on the tech team to give us the support to get the 3D front end working at this stage. We removed the multiplayer mode, Conquest Mode and War. We moved them to DLC as well. Now, we had a very short period of time here after Alpha, before the voice recording was going to start. And after our review with the designers, we recognised that the game didn't have enough mission variety and gameplay variety early on. So actually not early on, through the whole thing. So what we did is we designed, I think it was about 10 or 15 additional objectives to put through the entire game. And we didn't have a lot of time to do this, so we did it right before the actual VO recording sessions were going to happen. So, a few months later, obviously we're into heavy crunch at the end of 2008. As I mentioned, we had about 75 people working on the project. I'm not sure if a lot of guys here will be familiar with the approval processes from the companies like Sony and Microsoft, but some of you guys might not. And what Sony has is a second stage approval. You get a first stage approval early on. You tell them, look, we want to make a game about, a sequel to Heroes of the Pacific. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do all these things. But they say, that's great. Come back when you're almost finished and show us the game so that we can approve it again. Microsoft don't have second stage approvals, which means that often you'll see games get released on Xbox and on PC, but not on PS3, because they probably wouldn't have achieved second stage approval from Sony. But Microsoft don't care so much, so they come out and on those two platforms, but not on the PS3. So at this stage, we took Heroes to Sony and we had them do their evaluation of it, and we got failed. Now, normally a fail like this is okay because you've got a bit of time and you can address the issues, but we were on such a tight time frame that we couldn't afford to address the issues they had. So if you look here, the Sony rejection for the game, they had 6 A issues which you have to address. Pop-up and drawing, noticeable, texture issues, LOD popping, aliasing, minor shimmering, frame rate displays frequent drops, hitching and pausing, controls are imprecise, it's probably from the frame rate, and the first level is overly dark. So those were the 6 things that they gave us A-class fails on. So this rejection effectively made our Q1 release push impossible. What I'll do is I'll just show you a couple of videos. We're going to look at 2 videos now of this stage of development. So Martin's just going to run these for us. The first one is called either Beta or Sony Stage 2. This is Beta. So what you notice here, obviously the game has come a long way since GDC. But check out the bridge, see the LOD popping on the bridge? We had all sorts of issues with LOD poppings, with the frame rate pauses that you can see in the game. So you'll see that it's slightly jerky. Basically that's to do with something we're going to talk about later, the generation of shadow runs and other kind of stalls and problems with the game. So although the game has come a long way in just 6 or 7 months, Sony would say, no, the quality isn't good enough for you to release it. So just have a look through a bit more of this. Now, one thing you can see here is that the cityscape is now working. So all of those buildings were all hand placed though in London, which again, I'll show you how that works a bit later, but big job for them.